Today we're working on a video that our teacher, our computer concept teacher, Miss Lang, has asked us to put together. The topic we chose was the history of home networking and the devices we used. We're going to start off today talking about the old analog modem. Our team members have put together a timeline about this modem. And do you realize this modem was actually developed in the 20s? They used it in the 20s for teletype and telegraph messages. And they used RS-232 serial to connect. And that's what we have here today. We have RS-232 serial, which is an RS-232 serial cable, and we use it to connect to our PC. Of course, in the 20s, we didn't have PCs. We didn't have computers really in the 20s. We mostly had teletype telegraph machines that used serial. These modems were used for years because they didn't require much speed. It was all text data, and it didn't require it. These were used in the 50s when the advent of computers came on the scene to have computers to talk to one another. The 50s, the 60s, the 70s. These were all this technology was led by AT&T Bell Labs to develop. In the 80s, we started to see the advent of computers. Not as important and not as fast as we have today, but personal computers came on the scene. And people still use these same modems to get access to mainframe computers. They got login sessions on them. And the way they were configured is actually on a personal computer. You had to go in and configure your serial port. And you did that through control panel. And you went into the networking sharing device and you had to set up a new connection. Of course, we're using Windows 7, which is a little different than how they did it back in those days. But you actually had to go in and configure this modem to basically connect with a telephone number and a login ID and a password. And once you did that and you hit connect, this would actually dial and give you a funky little modem sound as they synced up. And you connected, you had a session, and you could log into your mainframe computer or whatever you were logging into. The problem with these was as the advent of the internet came around, it was more graphics based. And they could not really handle the graphics. They couldn't handle the much information that was put on them. And they were just too slow. So what came along was the router. The router, a lot of people call these modems, but they're not really modems, they're routers. It still used a PPPoE session or PPPo, a point-to-point protocol, but it was not serial anymore. It was Ethernet. And you configured it by using an Ethernet cable, not serial. And at serial, the max you got was 56K. This went up to 100 megs. And you configured it by getting into the GUI interface. These boxes had GUI interfaces on them. And you configured it by getting into the GUI, configuring your login ID and password, getting an IP address, and boom, you were on the internet. And you were doing speeds that whatever your ISP or your provider would give you, whether it was cable, whether it was DSL, whether it was whatever type satellite, whatever you used, this enabled you to get on the internet where this box would get on the internet. This was 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 times as fast. That is our video project. I hope you like it. Thanks for watching.